Hello, beautiful seekers, and welcome to Moon Magic and our discussion for the Aquarius new moon on February 11th, 2021. This moon is rich with creative energy, supportive energy, good luck energy. This moon is also going to ask us some very real questions about our perspectives, about our expectations, about what we want to sustain, and about honesty with ourselves. So it has got two very strong facets to it that are quite clear and crisp, actually. They're not going to take a lot of mental juggling, because almost all of the energy right now in the sky is happening in Aquarius and Taurus. I mean, there's exceptions there, but that's where a lot of the heavy hitting energy is happening right now. And most of it, to be honest, is in Aquarius. We are having this new moon in the midst of a Mercury retrograde in Aquarius. Jupiter and Venus are in Aquarius, Saturn's in Aquarius, the Sun is meeting the moon in Aquarius. So this is a very Aquarian moon. I mean, about as Aquarian as you can get for any kind of new or full moon, right? So this is amplified by all of that energy around it. The Sun and Moon are meeting together at 23 degrees of Aquarius. Love the number 23. And Jupiter and Venus are joining together and going to be conjunct at 12 degrees of Aquarius. Another amazing number. So we have these beautiful meeting points, right? And this is where the energy is really, really supportive, right? I mean, Jupiter and Venus meeting, that's always a good time. That's one of those really magical, lovely, beautiful days of the year. You can really open your heart to what you want to create, what you want to see in the world, what you want to expand as far as joy and pleasure and beauty, really, right? So like, what beautiful things do you want to create? And of course, the Sun and the Moon together here. This is a seed planting energy. When I think about like the Leo full moon that we had to lead into this Aquarius new moon, right? That full moon was really challenging us to shed a lot and to let go, right? And so this new moon is the follow-up, which is, okay, look at the pieces you have and work with what you have. One of the big things about Aquarian energy, and especially during this Mercury retrograde, like, we don't want to undersell the fact that there's a Mercury retrograde going on, which takes away our sense of linear time. A, B, C, point 1, 2, 3, get it done. Here's the steps. And this is how I know that I am getting ahead in life. This is how I know that I'm accomplishing. This is how I know I'm successful, because I've done steps 1, 2, and 3. This new moon, one of the main facets about it, because it's during this Mercury retrograde, because we're working with Aquarian energy, is that you have to take your talons out of the linear model of how you think your projects need to get done, and be open to shifting your perspective. This sounds kind of fun and easy and light. Like, I know whenever I get this message coming in, I'm like, that sounds good. Like, I'm willing to try things differently, but it's actually a little challenging, because you're still going to have deep places in you that says, if A, then B, right? If I get this job, then I'll be able to do these things. If I accomplish this task, then I'm going to know what to do next, right? That's something that's very comforting to most of us, to have a game plan. And this new moon is going to be asking us how we can get creative with how we're envisioning the path forward, and not to get sold on, okay, maybe there's a component you think you need to have in place this February, this coming month, right? In order for you to have the rest of the steps for 2021 to be the year you want it to be. That may not be the case. That ingredient may come at a different part of the puzzle. And it's hard to even enunciate what I'm trying to talk about here, because it's not a nice, linear, tidy story. My point being, with all of this energy in Aquarius and this Jupiter-Venus meetup, the Sun-Moon meetup, and even Mercury in retrograde is trining the North Node in Gemini. These are all very positive aspects, right? These are very supportive energies to dream, to think of plans, to be open. you're going to want to just be open to new ways of seeing your situation, new ways of coming to answers, and to be open to thinking about those not as like plan B or secondary or like a demotion, but as something that's actually helping you, right? And actually this process, I think, is kind of trusting our innermost selves more deeply. And that's where let's get into all the squaring energy, because the other thing happening during this new moon is that there's really potent energy hanging out in Taurus. And all this Aquarius season and all the time we're working with Jupiter and Saturn and Aquarius, there's going to be this kind of ongoing tension between the energy in Aquarius and the energy in Taurus. And in Taurus, we have Aquarius as ruling planet as Uranus, and we also have Mars over there right now, and Lilith. And these three, they're disruptors. They want to shift things. They want to move things. They want to make things happen. And they're also, the way that they're placed over there in Taurus, in our embodiment, in how we are here in the, how we play our role, how we move through the world, how we find joy, pleasure, beauty, how we create, right? How we access our creative energy is getting challenged here. And this is really where we're asking, what is it that you truly want to embody in this life? And are you willing to be vulnerable and open and courageous about it? Creativity takes courage. And that is something that this new moon is going to be asking. So one, it's going to be asking you to think creatively about problem solving, about the way you're seeing your story, and letting go of maybe the way you think the story needs to go in order for you to feel valuable, worthy, successful, all those key words that we're always looking to get hits of that feeling, right? Letting go of our control around that and being open, and also getting really honest about what we want to embody in this life, what we're willing to take courageous action on, right? Courageous transformation on. Because this message came through for me really strong. I was getting a lot of messages last night as I was sitting in the quiet thinking. A lot of messages were coming through me, and about this new moon and about this energy and what it's trying to teach a lot of us at this time. And part of it is that the future and creative processes and birthing new versions of ourselves and coming into new energetic cycles is about actually engaging with kind of the void, right? The unknown, the unformed, the so full of all the multiple possibilities that it looks as though there is nothing there. That void, that creative void, is really intimidating to connect with, because it's not like the past. It's not like things we've already lived through where we can look at it and we can say, well, this happened, then this happened, and therefore this is the conclusion I came to, right? Which is very comforting. It's nice to look through our history and to know that we have learned or transformed or transcended something. But when we're getting into creative courage, when we're getting into the courage to be open to different problem solving, to be open to viewing ourselves differently, to be open to viewing our path differently, and to be open to new creative experiences coming through us, we are also having to lean more into that mysterious unknowing, the cloud of unknowing, which is an old medieval text. It's really beautiful. But the unknowing, the void, the creative uncertainty that comes with that. And that's where the squaring energy is really challenging us, and also just all this energy in Aquarius. It's asking us to be courageous enough to sit in that creative not knowing. And that takes vulnerability, it takes courage, it takes a certain level of kind of self-trust that can be really overwhelming. So on the one hand, I think this moon is a beautiful moon for daydreaming, for fantasizing. Jupiter Venus is giving me goosebumps talking about it. Jupiter Venus is really supportive, big breakthrough energy there. And I think the same with this sun and moon meeting here. These energies open us. They bring in fresh infusions of answers, pathways, openings, doorways. They really do. But the deal with that is that you have to be, vulnerably courageous enough to walk through the doorways that are presented to you, and to discern as well. which doorways you want to walk through, right? Discernment is a huge part of Aquarian energy as well. It's discerning between what you really feel at a soul level is right for you, even if it's a little scary, a little challenging, a little not known, and what you were just saying yes to. And yes, it's also scary, challenging, but it's in a way that's not feeding your soul. So discernment's going to be a big part of this too. And I would recommend, this moon could be a really great time to take the time to assess and discern which things are challenging you and getting you revved up that are serving your soul, and which ones are just you forcing yourself, right? So this is going to be, it's new vision, it's new perspectives, and it will feel a little bit like we're having to change shape very quickly. And I think that can be really overwhelming. So the other thing I would say, with all this electrical energy in Aquarius, and even with that square energy in Taurus, because the planets that are in Taurus they're not Taurus-like at all, right? Taurus is like a sign that is very much about like self-mothering, creative, nurturing, like stability. And like Mars wants to disrupt, Uranus wants to disrupt, Lilith wants to disrupt. These guys do not want status quo. They want things to turn over and change. So there's a lot of electrical energy in the air. So it's important to also just make sure that, with all this perspective shift, with all these jolts of new energy, that you are finding ways to also be gentle with yourself. Don't be like spending, the next week just like trying to furiously do a whole bunch of homework and scribble. Take rest, take breaks. Don't overanalyze either, right? Because Aquarius energy is also notorious for getting us into over-analytical mindsets. So you want, a card fell, and it's Judgment. Makes so much sense. And actually the bottom of the deck, I can't ignore this, is Ace of Wands. Love that combo. Love that combo. Judgment's one of my favorite cards. Okay, so yeah, you want to make sure you're getting rest, and you don't want to be over-analyzing too much, because there's a fine line between when we're listening to our intuitive voice and we jump on over into the over-analyzing. 2 hours later, we're still thinking about the thing and analyzing, is it for me or not, right? So we don't want to go there. This moon is really supportive. I'm gonna emphasize that again and again. It's very unique to have Sun and Moon conjunct, Jupiter, Venus conjunct, Mercury retrograde, trining the North Node, all of this happening. It's a very rare new moon. Judgment. Remember how I was saying taking our talons, our claws out of the story we've pre-written for ourselves, right? That we've decided these things need to happen in the next 6 months, or this year is not what I want it to be, right? Or whatever. I mean, this comes in different ways, but Judgment is a release, right? This is divine grace. This is a healing card, and it's also a shedding. And, it's interesting because the Leo full moon really asked us to do that. And there has been a grief process actually with this first part of Aquarius season. We only have a week left after this new moon, but the first few weeks of this Aquarius season, there's been a lot of grieving and releasing. And, grief also carves out space for us to have new experiences, right? And so depending on how you're working with your own transformation, that may speak to you. But the Judgment card is about not carrying the weight anymore, right? It's about total release. It's about forgiveness of ourselves, of others, of past situations. It's about letting ourselves go from the storylines that we think we need to keep reliving, right? It's a total release from kind of the way I think we think about like, the terms get tossed around like karmic contract and karmic issue. It's like releasing all of that. It's not interesting. We don't need to keep playing in these loops anymore, right? Aquarian energy does not want to play in a loop. It wants to see what happens next. So Judgment is a huge release. So you may be finding that there's kind of a dual aspect to this moon of being very releasing, very opening, very lightening, very like the weight is off your shoulders, like your chest is open, you can take full breaths. And also like you are letting go, right? But there's also new opportunities awakening. The baby sprigs in the northern hemisphere of spring are starting to quietly murmur in the background. And the Ace of Wands is a doorway that opens, and it is a strong one. It's not really something you get confused about, like, I'm not sure. Is that a doorway? Ace of Wands is pretty in your face, but it's also a beginning. You know, when I look at this wand, one of the things I notice about it is that it's like young growth, right? Young sprigs of life, small leaves. It's not the whole giant tree, right? It's not the whole built up experience. It is the initiating, opening sprig of energy, right? And that doesn't make it less important. It doesn't make it less momentous, exciting, positive, supportive. But you just have to be open to it being the beginning, right? Just the beginning as we connect with this creative process that requires our courage and our vulnerability and connecting to the unknowing and to the not knowing of what is next, and knowing that that's okay. That actually means you're probably listening more intuitively to your soul than you are to the pre-written script. That makes you feel a little bit more in control, but that doesn't always necessarily help you that much, right? So the Ace of Wands is nodding to the fact that this energy around this new moon is going to be opening some new doors. And it's going to be up to you. Here's the thing with the discernment, whether you acknowledge those doors, connect with those doors, choose those doors or not. And it's going to be up to you how you want to engage with the opening of the energy, because there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of options. There's not just like one thing, oh, here it's done. There's going to be different ways you can approach the next chapter. So one of the tricks about this new moon, this is coming in as I'm realizing as I'm talking through this, is figuring out which ones you want to choose, what you want to pick up. Ooh, this is gonna be a really cool and interesting moon, but just remember, like, things are gonna happen swiftly. Air energy moves fast. Even fixed sign air energy like Aquarius tends to move really quickly. Air can move around and be in different modalities, heat up, cool down, travel fast. So one of the things that's really potent about February in general is that quick transformation. So you may find that you go through a whole bunch of conversations within 48 hours with yourself, with others, with, you know, your inner knowing, with the divine. It's like, so also, you know, once again, don't get too caught up, don't get too rigid, just kind of relax, watch, notice, listen, release, pay attention, connect with what feels playful and joyful and light. Remember, Venus and Jupiter are here with us. They want us to access something that gives us joy and excitement, even if it requires courage, vulnerability, and not knowing. Okay, I feel like I've gone here, there, and everywhere. Speaking of quick moving air energy, I'm going to be doing some deeper dives into how to work with Aquarian energy over on my Patreon. That community is really beautiful, and a lot of people have been asking me how to specifically work with like Jupiter in Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius. What does any of this mean for those of us? Like, I'm having my Jupiter return right now, and a lot of people I know are having their Saturn return right now. I'm going to be covering all of that on my Patreon, so I'd love to see you over there. You can find that link in the description box. You can also find me on my website or on Instagram, where I'm sharing a lot more of my vulnerable journey, and I will be continuing to do that coming up in the coming weeks here on this channel as well. So I'll leave all those the links and information in the description box. Have a beautiful new moon, my friends. Take such good care of yourselves as we adjust to this Aquarian season, and I will talk to you very soon.